They lied. They attacked us for saying it. They're not the only ones who lied, though. We know that Andrew Cuomo lied about nursing home deaths in the state of New York. That's come out, too. Media organizations didn't cover that story. Instead, they accused the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, who they worry could run for president, of manipulating his state's coronavirus data. And they had evidence to prove it. Various news outlets cited a supposed whistleblower who had previously worked at the Florida Department of Health. It was a woman called Rebecca Jones. Now, Rebecca Jones claimed she was evidence to prove it. Various news outlets cited a supposed whistleblower who had previously worked at the Florida Department of Health. It was a woman called Rebecca Jones. Now, Rebecca Jones claimed she was instructed to delete data on COVID deaths. And over at CNN, Andrew Cuomo's brother treated Rebecca Jones like a living oracle.
And I want to bring in former data scientist for the Florida Department of Health who co-founded the COVID Monitor. Why do we keep closing down schools when the rate is so much lower than it is in the rest of the communities? For example, New York City, they just hit the 3% mark, but the schools are only 0.17. Why shut down our schools? You're saying I have my facts wrong.
Part of the reason of shutting down a school or school system is to prevent the case rate from getting higher. If you allow the case rate to become high, then you've acted too late.
Oh, she's a data scientist, says Andrew Cuomo's brother. Over at MSNBC, Rebecca Jones was more like a religious figure.
Rebecca Jones, the light is shining on you. Don't be scared, because the whole country now is watching you and your family and what they do to you.
So anyone who pushed back on any of this, well, of course, they were sexist for questioning Rebecca Jones.
Yeah, I've unfortunately personally experienced a lot of misogyny in the last 7 months. Governor DeSantis, at a forum for trying to get rid of the stigma of mental health this week, actually used the term "she's got issues," referring to me. So there is a absolutely coordinated effort to just dismiss women in any instance that they speak out to make them seem irrational or overly emotional.
It was an effort to dismiss women. Well, one long and genuinely fascinating new magazine piece takes Rebecca Jones very seriously. Doesn't dismiss her at all, but concludes that she is a total fraud. The piece says Rebecca Jones did not have the authority to delete records of COVID deaths in the Florida system. The piece also points out that she changed her story about what happened multiple times. Charles Cook is a senior writer at National Review. He's the one who wrote this piece, which you should read because it's amazing, and he joins us tonight. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Unfortunately, in the space of a TV segment, we don't have time for you to unfurl this amazing story, but just give us some of the highlights on who Rebecca Jones is.
Well, the key thing here is that the central claim is false. And this is not a political question. It's not a question of Republicans and Democrats. It's not a question of whether you like Ron DeSantis or you like Florida or you think he got it right. As you said, Rebecca Jones made a clear claim, an objective claim, a claim that can be falsified. And that is that she was told by Dr. Shamariel Robeson, who is the Deputy Secretary of Health in Florida, is a chronic disease epidemiologist, to fudge the numbers, to edit the raw data. Now, if that were true, that would be an enormous scandal. But it's not. First, It didn't happen. There's no evidence that it happened. But suppose for the sake of argument it had. Rebecca Jones was not in a position to do what she said she was asked to do. She didn't have the permissions. She's not an epidemiologist. She's not a scientist. She's not a politician. She was a dashboard manager. Her job was to manage the public-facing dashboard with the numbers on it. She got copies of the data in Excel format. She could not write the Merlin database, which is what Florida uses. She could not have done that. The story is false.
So, and she also had a kind of amazing backstory that really has to be read to be enjoyed. And again, I hope that our viewers will read it because it really made my afternoon one day. But what's amazing is you verified this. You put a lot of work into this piece, but you'd think that Andrew Cuomo's brother could have called over there and said, hey, did this lady actually have the ability to do what she says? Nobody did that, so far as I can tell.
Well, that's another key point. The documents that I used, and they're all referenced throughout the piece, they're all linked on the online version of the piece, are public information, all of them. The criminal records are public information. The labor file is public information. These have all been in the public domain for months, maybe longer. Anyone could have looked them up and read them. And when you read them, what you find is that this is somebody who was indulged by the Florida Department of Health, not targeted, indulged. When she was hired, they knew that she had a pretrial intervention program in Louisiana that had wiped away 4 misdemeanors, including assaulting a police officer. They knew she had a deferred prosecution in Florida. And as her behavior got worse and worse within the department, they kept her around. They took her off the dashboard, but they reallocated her. They didn't fire her. It was only when things got untenable that the department fired her, and as a thanks for that, she started lying about them in public, and then she illegally accessed their computer information and downloaded the personal information of 19,000 state employees. So yeah, this is somebody who has a history.
She's an ambitious young lady. Has she been signed yet to a CNN contributor contract?
Well, I don't know. She has 2 trials coming up, both in the state of Florida, so we'll have to see how those go first.
All right. Well, we'll wait to see her on Don Lemon's show again. Mr. Cook, thank you.
Thank you.
Kirstie Alley's been around Hollywood for 40 years.